All right, let's switch to a little bit of math here. This comes under the valuation section, the appraisal section, as one of the ways an appraiser will absolutely appraise property. Remember, anything more than 4 units, they use the income approach. More than 4 units, that creates potential gross income minus vacancy, gives it an effective gross income. Then you take away your net operating or your expenses to get your net operating income, divided by a capitalization rate, and you can get a value for a rental building, apartment building, of more than 4 units. But what happens if you got a single family home renting, a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex? 1 through 4, not to include 5 or more, that's the income approach. This is what the appraisers are going to use, called the gross rent multiplier. So they create value up to 4 units. Okay. It's not a substitution for the income approach. Okay. You need to know the income approach as well. That's 5 or more. Okay. Now, the gross rent multiplier is based on monthly rent. So if your calculation gives you your rent in an annual figure or yearly, you got to divide by 12. Okay. If it gives it to you semi-annually, you got to divide by 2. If it gives you the rent quarterly, okay, that's every 3 months. Okay. You got to divide by 3. Okay. So you got to watch what unit of measurement the rent is in, and then you got to bring it to a monthly rent. Okay. Because that's how you're going to calculate this problem. The formula is very easy. Okay. Value equals gross rent multiplier, or the GRM, that's the variable, times the rent. Okay. The GRM is a number much like the capitalization rate in the income approach that the appraiser will have based on other properties. They'll get a GRM average. They'll take the monthly rent, multiply it times the GRM that's established, and they'll get the value of the home. Okay. So let's look at a couple of questions. The first one is in theory. Which factor is used in determining the gross rent multiplier? What do you think? Which factor is used in determining the gross rent multiplier? What factor? All right. Right, we talked about it, gross rent multiplier. The factor we're going to use is monthly rent. Okay, the gross monthly rent. Okay, good. Now, the second question is a calculation. So get out your calculators right now. And I want you to work this problem. I'm going to give you about a minute and a half. Each unit in a fourplex rents for $225 per month. With the sales price of $81,000, what is the gross rent multiplier? Okay, so go ahead and work that out. Everybody good? All right, let's go back and review real quick. We said value equals GRM times rent. Okay, value is equal to GRM times rent. Now, you got to know this for the state exam. So my advice, if you get a problem like this, go to your scratch paper, write down the formula. Value equals GRM times rent. You got to know that. Okay. So it's just an algebraic equation. They give you the rent and they give you the value. So you're going to have to find the GRM, which is the gross rent multiplier. So what I'll do is take the value divided by the rent. It gives me my GRM. So I got to calculate what the rent is. I got 4 units. They rent for $225 per month. So I got to go 4 times $225. My total rent for the fourplex is $900. Okay, so I write that down on my scratch paper. I know that value equals GRM times rent. So I'm looking for the value. I put my value down equals GRM. That's what I'm looking for, times rent, 225. So if I take 81,000 divided by 900, it's my rent, I get 90, okay, which is my GRM. Be answer C, okay? Answer C. Remember, GRM, you got to convert everything to monthly, okay? Don't forget, they're going to give you some problems and you got to calculate what the rent is. They're just not going to give you rent $900. They're going to say a fourplex or a duplex, right? So you got to factor that in to get your monthly rent. And then your sales price, and then you get your GRM in 90, okay? Now, they could give you a fourplex that rents for $225 per month, and they'll say in there the GRM is 90. What is the value of the property? Okay, so again, value equals GRM, which is 90, times 900, 81,000 would be the answer. So it's just an algebraic equation that you have to appropriate depending on what you have to find. Okay, here it's a gross rent multiplier. So you're going to divide the value by the rent. Okay.
For more practice questions, videos, and insight into the state exam, we encourage you to join our free webinar, How to Pass the Real Estate Exam Without Your Real Estate Book and with only 15 to 20 hours of study time. Get registered now at myrealestatetutor.com/exam.